Thank you very much for coming in today. We're going to go ahead and just kind of jump in. This is our monthly sales meeting, and we've got a lot of cool stuff going on. Several things I want to show you and kind of walk you through. Yeah, we have an upgraded training room now, so I'm glad to see that this is finally coming along. So yeah, there we go. All right, but I want to start off by talking about mortgage rates. So let's start looking at what's really going on with mortgage rates. So what have you seen happening with mortgage rates so far?
Sharon, they're going down.
Well, they are. But like if you look at our mortgage rates are tied to the 10-year treasury. And so if you will look at the 10-year treasury, what you'll see is that there's a direct correlation to the 10-year treasury and 30-year mortgage rates. So we have a lot of market volatility, a lot of things happening in the market that are going on. So like we had the Fed, the Fed went and they lowered the federal funds rate. Everybody was like, yay, and that was really good. What happened to 30-year mortgage rates after the Fed lowered the federal funds rate? Nothing. Not a thing, because they had already priced all that in, and it didn't affect the 10-year treasury. See, when the 10-year treasury moves, the 30-year mortgage rates move. And the things that affect the 10-year treasury are going to be inflation. The federal funds rate is a factor in there, but it's more market driven than anything. So like if the market's having a real tough time, if there's a lot of volatility, if there's a lot of just angst going on in the market, that tends to lead to more uncertainty. And what we have is we have what's called the spread. And the spread is the range between the 10-year treasury and the 30-year mortgage rates. And so, the average is 2.59. However, historical average is about 1.7. It's starting to run closer to 2.25 right now. So we're seeing that spread tighten up a little bit. But anytime that spread expands, that's because the market feels a lot of volatility. We're going to continue to have volatility. We have, I don't care which way you lean politically, but we do have an administration that likes volatility. And so the markets don't. That's why we're seeing a little bit extra spread in there still. That's why one of the things that is going on. Now, we are seeing where interest rates are moving in a positive direction, but not like leaps and bounds. Things are not jumping all over the place. We're not seeing where, this is going to be going down into, well, it's never, I don't think it'll ever be back into the 3s. I don't think it'll ever be back into the 4s. Those were artificial times that are not, at that time, the Fed was actually buying mortgage-backed securities, which helped to drive the prices down even more. That's not going on. So I don't ever see us getting back into the 4s. We should get back into the 5s, and we have some 5s.
We have some 5s now.
We have some 5s right now, Sharon, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what is it that we have 5s in?
FHA and VA. Okay. USDA.
Govies. Government loans are running under 6s right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
Which
is shut down right now.
SBA, you can't do those.
Again, we're not going political here, but like it just is what it is. I don't know whose fault it is. And hopefully at some point we get this whole thing straightened up. But does that affect, it has a short-term effect on us in real estate, but we don't need to focus about things that we can't control. And I can't control government shutdowns, whose fault it is, and all that kind of stuff. I have no say in that, and I'm not going to try and go there because all I'm doing is just adding to the confusion and the turmoil. So I recommend the same thing for you. There's no need to get political with it. Just I'm going to focus on the things that I can control and also know what's really going on with the future here. So right now we have mortgage rates running for conventionals is in the low 6s, government loans is in the high 5s right now. Y'all, what do you think about interest rates in the 5s, even in the high 5s? Good, bad, and different? Okay, fairly decent. Look, at 6%, people start to move back in a lot more, right? We have a changing expectation, and I want to make sure that we have that same understanding of expectation. Do y'all remember when the rates went from 3 to 4%? Everybody's like, oh my gosh, 4%, this is crazy. And then they went to 5, And everybody lost their mind. Who's gonna buy a house at 5%? The buyer's market is completely gone. Then they went to 6. And people were like, no one will ever buy a home again. Right? Then 7. Then 8. And folks started looking, you know what? Historically, this ain't that bad. And then life kicks in, right? Things start happening. And so you can say, look, I want to wait for that 3% rate. You're never going to buy a home again. I want to wait for a 4% rate. You're probably never going to buy a home again. So I do see it softening. I don't see it moving really, really big. But we need to understand that these rates, these are really good rates, especially compared to where we are. This is also where we're at, right? So how important is it that we are advocates for housing? That we help people, like what is the interest rate on an apartment? 100%. It's all interest, right? Because all you're doing is making somebody else wealthy, right? You're paying somebody else's mortgage. You're still paying a mortgage. You're paying somebody else's mortgage, and that's a big deal. So like wealth in the United States comes from homeownership. If we really care about families and care about people, we're going to be able to talk about this in an intelligent way, not in a manipulative way, not where we're trying to like, hey, 6 is good. Like 6 really is a pretty good rate. If we're under 6, I'm really, really happy with that. We kind of see that moving in that same kind of positive direction. So this is what we see happening with mortgage, with the overall monthly mortgage payments. What do you see happening? Is it moving in the right direction? Yes, right? Is this good for our buyers? Is this also good for our sellers? 100%, because if you are a seller, what are you also? A buyer at some point. Nobody wants to be homeless, right? So, so we're seeing where the lower mortgage rates are improving affordability. Is that important for us? Absolutely. 100%, right? Exactly. So, lower rates, more demand. We are already seeing this right now. We're seeing where the market is reacting. We're seeing where we're heading into a better fall than we had last year in a lot of by a lot of accounts. And what the other thing we're seeing is we're seeing a really big disparity from one realtor to another. Do you know what the biggest difference in whether one realtor's business is doing really well and the other isn't? No, not communication. What do you think about the market? What do you think about rates? Right? Because I have agents who come to me and like, man, no one's going to buy a house right now. Well, you're right. With that attitude, if that's your thought process, I can promise you no one will buy a house right now because that's what you're putting out into the ether, right? When you're like, the rates are really good and you're being very positive about what's going on, not painting an incomplete picture, but being real honest about what's really happening in the market. If you say the market is done, then I promise you the market will be done for you. But we're not seeing that the industry is not looking like that right now. The industry is looking at a very, very positive way. So, Sharon, I want you to jump up here. There's another thing that we want you to be able to look at right now is Georgia Dream is back, but it's back with some really interesting programs, right? Some really neat things. And so Georgia Dream has been around for a long time. But there are some updates to Dream, right?
There are.
I'm just going to hush and let you talk about Dream.
They finally gotten aggressive is what's happened. They finally woke up. They finally woke up and said, okay, realistically, people make more than $82,000 a year in our MSA, which is Sandy Springs and Atlanta. And there's like 40 counties within that MSA. So they finally woke up and said, wow, we need to do something to tweak these programs. Well, they have. And they are amazing. And look here, you will never hear me advocate for Georgia Dream Law because they are god awful. But it's okay.
But you will now.
You will now, yeah. I'll take them all day long. The regular, this is the Georgia Dream Ownership Program. This is just the standard Georgia Dream, and this is what they offer. And I've got some flyers. Some other people have come in. We'll get y'all some. But here it shows for 30-year FHA, USDA, VA, conventional down payment assistance. It tells you what each program will do. And it tells you requirements for eligibility for the borrowers. You have this particular one right here will go up to $550,000 sales price. Where it used to be $270.
Yeah.
Look, they
yeah.
doubled
They
how much
doubled.
home you could buy. Used to be, it was kind of tricky to get a home in the buy box for that.
Correct.
So that opened that up a lot more.
1 to 2 people in the household, they can make up to 130,950.
Which is not unreasonable if you think about
Mhm.
it, and with two income earners right now.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody out there making 82,000 a household. 3 plus is 149, 833. So that's awesome, and it will go up to, let's see, this is 550, it's just gonna go to 550,000.
Yeah.
Then you got the Peach, let's see, Peach Select. Yeah, that's the VA. They don't get any down payment assistance. However, they do get the rate. And the rates are about to change because DCA, which is Department of Community Affairs,
Yeah.
they set those rates periodically, and they should be going down because I can get a better rate than 6.375. All of these programs are at 6.375. So that's how they set it. They should be changing though pretty soon because we're in third quarter, so they should be changing. And then you got the Georgia Dream Peach Plus. That one, those are the same income guide. The VA one is the same income guidelines and the same up to 550. This one will go to 650,000. Your income goes to it's 199. Yeah, one to 2 is 195, 435, and 3 plus is 224, 750.
Oh, wow.
That's how much that goes to, and this will take you up to a $650,000 sales price.
Not bad.
Almost all your Georgia Dream is 640 on the credit scores. All right, so 580 is not gonna cut it for Georgia Dream. 640 is your minimum on all these, right?
Correct.
And it's
640.
not unobtainable, that credit score, honestly, and sometimes you may be close, but not close enough. If you would just talk to the lender and they will tell you exactly what you can do to bump that score up. And sometimes about paying off, let's say you have 10 credit cards, okay? And all 10 of them has got less than $1,000. Pay off 3 or 4 of them, that will bump your score up really quick. And just do the monthly payment if you had to on the others, minimum, just so you can pay off these 3 and then work on the other, because a lot of people they just look at it like, oh, I gotta pay this off. And they don't look at it, paying one off will actually impact their credit score. And then they can work on the next one, whether it's a month or couple, per paycheck, whatever it is. But that just means less Starbucks and less, going out to eat, but you are not spending that money out, but you're actually saving some toward a goal. So it's about perspective. What is it you want? I mean, do you still want to be a renter 30 years from now on? Or do you want to own a piece of pie and have an equity of $350,000, $400,000 in the near future? I mean, those are,
You know, down payment program for those people with crappy credit? There ain't one. Right? I mean, like, that's just, and I don't want to be mean about it, but like tough love is real, right? Like I want someone to do seller financing. They're not going to do it if your credit's stinky, right? You're not going to be able to buy a home if your credit's stinky. Folks have to work on their credit, right? And it affects so much of our lives.
If you preach it like in a perspective of it's a temporary sacrifice for greater gain, most people can do short-term sacrifices, if they can see what the long-term goal are. So.
Yeah.
Also,
How-
I got.
How much money are they getting? Because we didn't touch on
Yeah.
that.
That's right.
Standard, they're getting
Standards
what, 2
10,
grand, right?
Standards 10, PINs, which is policemen, educators, and nurses, medical. They're getting, I think it's $12.50.
Yeah.
And then, but those are the 2.
Yeah.
I've also got Fulton County HOP will be. I'm doing training on November 5th. It's their home ownership program in Fulton County. They'll go up to $22,500, and it's forgiven if you live in the house for 5 years. We'll go over that once I go to that training, but it's a good program. And if you've got any buyers that are buying in Fulton County, it's a good one. And there's
we have a lot of folks in Fulton County.
Yeah, we've got Invest Atlanta. I've got all those other things. So we'll just talk. I mean, I could talk about DPA for a long time. So, but yeah. So anyway, if y'all got any questions, let me know. I do have a new HELOC program, and it's a good one. It closes really quickly. It does require income verification, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Sharon. I appreciate it. So so let's talk, let me wrap up on the we're seeing where a lot of these deep down payment programs like, are they gonna lower the interest rate in most cases? No, but for the grants, this could be free money. We're seeing where you do have to pay back Georgia Dream. I don't want to paint any incomplete pictures here kind of thing. But for folks, it's one of those things that we can do to help get them in a home, save some more money, have more money to put into it, that kind of stuff. It's gonna be able to help them out to jump in and feel like, but this is another thing that we can do to really help our folks as we go along. So let's talk about pricing. What's happening with pricing? So the top is Georgia MLS, the bottom is FMLS. So I like to pull the numbers every month so we can see exactly what we're looking at up to the minute. So like I pulled this data yesterday. So this is exactly what we're looking at. So what are you seeing happen with pricing? Georgia MLS down 0.03, FMLS down 1%. Now for the year, we're gonna end up, 1 to 2 to 3% for the year. But this is a pretty normal thing that we see this time of year. October, November, we normally see just a little bit of dip in values kind of thing compared to the previous months and the rest of the year. Is that good? Bad and different? What are your thoughts about flat prices? And a hush falls over the room.
I know.
I think it's good.
Well, I don't mind flat. I'm not looking for price reductions, and we're not really seeing much of that. However, what are the top two things that our buyers want right now? Ta-da. So what do we have right this minute? All right, ding, 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 ding. All right, there we go. All right. All right, so right now, huh? Yeah. Oh, well, I'll get you later. I'll get you later. Right? But like what I'm saying is that for like we haven't been able to say it's a really good time to buy for a while. And right now, compared to where we've been, is this a good time to buy?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. As a matter of fact, October is the best month to buy. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. New listings. New listings are up in Georgia MLS by 14%. New listings are up in FMLS only 5%. Now, do you know what the trend has been all year on new listings? We've had a ton more. At times we've had 35, 40% more new listings this year than last year. That total inventory is still up. Georgia MLS total inventory is up 20%. FMLS, it's up 21%. That was in the high 30s all year long. So what we're seeing is we're still seeing more inventory than we had last year, 20% more inventory than we had last year. But we're not seeing enough inventory where it's necessarily really impacting prices, because overall, if you compare our total inventory where we are now compared to where we were pre-COVID, we have less houses on the market. Like we're still down about 15% from where we were back when COVID was, before COVID hit. Do y'all remember 2018, 2019? Were those bad years in real estate? No, they weren't. But I just heard Bracken Bach speak the other day, and he brought up a really interesting point. He's like, the market was doing really good in 2017, 18, 19, 20 it hit, and we had this little dip, and then we had this huge shot up, right? Right. All of a sudden, we were all like Vanna White. I mean, not Vanna White. We were like Oprah Winfrey. Like, you get a house, you get a house, you get a house too, right? We were just selling houses left and right, and then it went back down. But it hasn't gone back down, like down. It's back to where we were in 2017, 18, 19. We're in those ranges. Were those bad years in real estate? No. But everyone wants to compare to where we were in summer of 21, when we were all like Flo at the diner, just selling houses, right? What you want, honey? So like we are seeing where inventory is a factor for sure, right? And I'm glad, because y'all remember selling during those years? What was our biggest challenge? I got no houses to sell, right? We had folks fighting over houses. So we do have more inventory right now. And that's another good thing right now for what we're seeing kind of going on in our market.
Well, the buyer has more choices. So if you're a seller's agent, make sure you have the really good consultation with your seller and lay out the expectation. Because if you don't, it's going to be a very difficult conversation when you have a contract, and it make you look like you didn't do your homework up front.
Yep.
So
now, speaking of being able to set expectations, our days on market, Georgia MLS 72, FMLS almost 50. where were we last year on days on market? Half of that, right? So what do a lot of our sellers still think our days on market are? Like, how we're gonna list our home this week, by next week, how many offers you think we're gonna have,
3 days.
right? Yeah, I mean, like, oh, we should be able to sell in a week or two, right? 72 days, that's our average days on market right now. If you're not telling your sellers, are you setting yourself up for, well, why aren't you selling my house, right? So make sure that we're being conscious about that, because that's another thing I really want you to know, days on market, standing inventory. Because these are things that we need to be educating our folks about what's going on. Closed sales. Georgia Mass, up almost 8%. FMLS, 4.5%. So our sales up.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, you could say that with a little more enthusiasm, please. That would be great if we could possibly do that. That would be awesome, right? So, huh?
Ask again.
Is that not good news?
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Thank you very much. If nothing else, you made me feel better. Okay, that worked. That worked really, really good, right? So, we are seeing where sales are increasing. And now we're looking at that kind of carry forward. Overall, months of standing inventory. We are sitting at 4.8 months of standing inventory in Georgia MLS and in FMLS right now. So we're just shy of 5 months of standing inventory. That's another one that is up pretty significantly on the number of months. Now, these numbers are highly broken down by price. So what do you think the amount of standing inventory we have under 300 is?
Not a lot.
Yeah, we don't have nearly as many months. How about over 700?
Yeah.
We have a lot more inventory. So it's much more of a buyer's market depending on the price. All of our sellers always think, well, it's always a seller's market. They always think it's a seller's market, right? But it depends on, like, location really does matter. The size of the home, the age, the condition, all those kind of things. But, you know, make sure you take into account location too, right? And what's $700,000 going to get you in Alpharetta?
Yeah,
Start home.
Yeah, it's a starter home. What's $700,000 gonna get you in Jackson?
really.
Oh yeah, we live in ours, right? Yeah,
I
that's
have
it.
the phone acreage.
So, all right. We're seeing that the recovery is expected to start. Now, this is from all the national trends. Looks like next year. We're already starting to see some of these signs turning right now. If you are waiting for the first of next year to start this recovery in your business, then you are late. All right. So now's the time when we need to be reaching out, engaging with our clients, building relationships, talking to our folks, preparing them for what's going on. You know, next month we lose a week of marketing, the week of Thanksgiving. We lose pretty much 2 weeks of marketing during December. Before you know it, January 1 is here. And a lot of people miss out on the fact that January really does start a whole new cycle for us, and the activity level shoots up almost immediately. I know that sounds weird because everyone's like, well, it's really March and April. No, it starts in January. The numbers just don't show it until March and April, right? Because like there's no number that shows how many showings are going on, how many people are setting appointments, how many people are having buyer appointments with clients. There's no way that we're tracking those numbers. What we see is that transactions start shooting up in March. When do those transactions start? In January is when they really get started. And when do those relationships need to start if you're going to start in January? Now, right? That's it entirely. And the wide door is open. All right. I want to talk about the dance. Okay. Who knows what the dance that's going on between our buyers and sellers right now? Would you close that?
Okay, I opened because it's the.
Oh, okay. All right. Gotcha. But I want to talk a little bit about the dance. So, I mean, I guess you and I can dance kind of as a. No, we're not going to dance. That would be bad. So, men can dance. I dance like the dancing bear at the circus. So, but before we talk about the dance, there's a couple of things that I want you to know that you have tools for, because this is something that I've been wanting to kind of talk a lot more about here lately. Is that we're seeing a lot of challenges still with folks that are still thinking that real estate is done the way it has been done for a long time, and not putting into account some of the things that we have going for us right now, and what's really happening. So first of all, like on the buy side, we have, if you'll go to, we have a buyer script. And this is what you do with your buyers, even when you first talk to them on the phone, all the way through to when you actually go and meet the buyer. It will walk you through your buyer appointment. So we have a buyer script. If you go to maxone.rocks/buyer appointment, you can download the buyer script right then and there. And then we have buyer presentations. So when you actually do sit down with them, you have a presentation that you can go over. It's already branded to Max One. And so if you go to maxone.rocks/buyers, it's there. We also have it in Spanish for any of our Spanish speaking agents. Compradores is the Spanish buyer's appointment, our buyer presentation. Now on the listing side, we have some additional tools that you can be utilizing over there. One is we have a pre-listing checklist. You ever have those folks who call you and say, you know what? We're thinking about selling in the next 6 months to a year, but we're not sure what to do. Would you come by? What this is a checklist you can go through with your seller to kind of go over, these are the things that you need to do. Really, all you're doing is going in with a big checklist that you're letting them kind of look at it with you. Now we have a pre-listing and listing script, same as we have for the buyer. We have one for the seller, which will walk you through your listing appointment. And then we also have our listing presentation, both in English and Spanish, and you can see that there. So I encourage you to use these tools. Like with the reason that like for our buyer appointment and for our listing script, this is how Ming and I built our business. These are the scripts that we used when we sat down with a buyer, when we set appointments with a buyer, when we go through and prepare our buyers. Because I feel that a lot of us are very, very passive about buyers. A lot of us in the real estate space treat buyers like, yeah, call me when you find a house.
Yeah, go look around, drive a neighbor, see if you like it first.
Yeah.
I mean, now the younger generation likes to do stuff like that. Okay, and that's fine, but reach your buyer, ask them, what is it that you are expecting out of me? Because sometimes your perception, their expectation may be different what they actually really want out of you.
You have 2.5 months to get a buyer under contract. After that, they're going to fire you. So if you treat that passively, you're going to lose out on buyers. Now, I got a couple of things that I want to make sure that we are understanding about what's going on with the dance that we have going on right now. And so on the buy side, and it's important that we understand, even before we get into the listing side, that we understand the buy side. Do we have to have a buyer brokerage agreement signed prior to showing? Yes, no, or maybe?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now, is that a correct rule?
Yes.
No.
No?
No, it's an MLS rule. Yeah, the enforcement mechanism here is the MLS. Does anybody want to function without the MLS? No, I don't either. So like, this is an MLS rule. So I've heard some people say, well, I'm not a realtor, I don't have to follow the rules. But what happens if you start showing homes and you don't have a buyer brokerage agreement signed? Well, I mean, one, you have no protections, but like
They can walk away.
buyer's agents, who do you negotiate your compensation with? Do you negotiate your compensation with the sellers?
Oh.
I see the look, Debbie,
We see
right?
confusion.
Right? But like, who do we negotiate our compensation with? This is like, I need you to get this because this is a really, really big deal. Who do we negotiate our compensation with?
The buyer.
The buyer.
Right.
When do we do that? When we, it's part of our, so like when you're going through and using your scripts and you're going through and you're doing your buyer's presentation, you're gonna go through, right? So like we negotiate our compensation with our buyer. That's before, that has nothing to do with the seller. Now, who do we want to pay or in most of our, let me rephrase this and put it the right way. Who does our buyer want to pay our compensation? Seller, 100%. I totally get that. I'm just trying to make sure that we understand that so when a seller pays our compensation, that's to the benefit of who?
Buyer.
The buyer, right, because when we sign, when we have a buyer brokerage agreement signed, who's on the hook for our compensation? The buyer, right? And that's the reason that all the language inside of our brokerage agreement has changed, and it's a little bit different now, is because the buyer is obligated to pay our compensation. Because otherwise, the buyers could just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna cut my agent out. No, the buyers are obligated to pay your compensation. But if you don't get a buyer brokerage agreement signed, how are you, first of all, you can't even negotiate for yourself. Without a buyer brokerage agreement, you can't negotiate on the behalf of a buyer, because you don't have permission to
You don't
negotiate.
have the right, you have no legal stance on that.
And you as a real estate agent can't negotiate without your buyer. So like to do this without a buyer brokerage agreement, you're getting all sorts of out of whack. So buyer's agents, do you need to be calling and asking what the co-op compensation is?
Yes.
Really? So the seller's paying your compensation? I mean, like, all right, no, so Ming has a listing and she's offering. So I call and I say, Ming, what are you offering co-op? She says 2.5, right?
Yep.
2.5. I've got a buyer brokerage agreement that says 3. Now, let me rephrase it. There's no set fees. I'm not trying to imply that it's always a set fee. I just want to make sure that, because this is being recorded, I don't want anybody to be like, Ellen says it's always 3. That's not what I'm saying, right? But in this instance, I've got a buyer brokerage agreement for this percent. She's offering that. Is what she's offering change my buyer brokerage agreement?
No.
Do I answer to, like, do I say, you know what, I guess I have to work for less because that's what the seller's offering?
No.
Now, I'm not saying it's not courteous or nice, but here's what we're seeing. We're seeing that outside the perimeter, it's still a lot of business as usual. Inside the perimeter, we've got a lot like Real, EXP, a couple of Remaxes. There's some other brokerages. They will not tell you anything about any office compensation. Y'all seen this, right? What do those agents tell you?
Submit your offer.
Submit your offer and make sure you include it in there.
So F-259 is very powerful. That's where, now, if they say, just ask them casual to say, is there a co-op? If not, then I know how to submit my offer.
So I'm not saying that you can't call and ask, but do you work for the seller or do you work for the buyer? Because see, I want to make sure that we're being real clear about this, because right now I've got a lot of buyer's agents that are fully understand this. And I've got a lot of listing agents that don't. I also got a lot of buyer's agents that don't understand this and are missing out on this. Since this change has happened, what has happened to buyer's agent compensation? You think it's gone up, down, or stayed the same? It's gone up, because who are we negotiating with? We're negotiating with the buyers. If it's up to the seller, how much would the seller pay us?
Nothing.
Exactly, not squat, right?
They don't have to.
Right? But now that my buyer is on the hook for whatever we have agreed to in that buyer brokerage agreement. And if that seller only wants to pay this percent, who's got to come out of pocket for that? They do, or I have to amend my buyer brokerage agreement. But are we all willing to do that? No, I'm not. I mean, like I believe that we work really, really hard for what we do. And whatever your fees are that you charge, I believe that you should stand on that. Now, I'm not saying I've never cut my compensation, but if I cut my compensation, it's because I did it to make a deal happen. I don't ever cut my compensation on the front end, right? We cut our compensation to make deals happen. But that is a you call. You may automatically say, you know what? Seller's offering 2, I'll be okay with 2. And if that's how you choose to operate, you can do it
A
that
lot of
way.
agents sometimes ask me.
But we
"Can I
are
just
not
put it?"
seeing nearly as much of that as we did in the past. And that's what I'm talking about, this whole thing about a dance, right? Because still at the end of the day, this is a dance. And we are an industry built on cooperation, right? Even though I may be representing the buyer, Ming may be representing the seller. Does her seller sell, my buyer buy, and do we all get paid if we can't work together?
No.
Right? Doesn't mean I have to be mean and I'll be a jerk. We can work together and still come to a common goal, right? That's the whole idea. So cooperation is important that we have. We need to understand how the whole game works. Because right now I've got some folks that really understand it. I've got other folks who are like, well, is it really that important that I do a buyer brokerage agreement? Yes, absolutely, right?
And the other thing too, a lot of agents don't think about is like, for example, the listing is $300,000. And the seller's only offering 2.5 co-op. You can bump that listing up to the other 0.5% to 3 or whatever, what 0.5% Carlos, 4,500
What?
of 300, 4,500.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you can bump your offer to 3,045 to cover your other half, so the buyer doesn't have to come out. Because it's easier for a buyer to roll that into a loan than it is for the buyer to actually come out 4,500 and pay you on top of closing costs and everything else. So that's another strategy a lot of y'all don't think about, because in the whole scheme of the loan, 4,500 may equate to $3 a month for a buyer. So just think about that, and it's not always that you have to give up your compensation just because the other side won't pay. Okay?
Right. Please understand, buyer's agents, you do not work for the seller. You work for the buyer. You work for yourself, and you have the ability to negotiate on that account. So how hard can you push for concessions right now as a buyer's agent?
Pretty easily.
Pretty hard.
No, depends on the price, depends on like
That's true.
I got a house at 250. I'm not gonna have nearly as much room to push, right? But it just make sure you pay attention to the market, what's going on. When do you request the seller to contribute to the buyer's commitment to compensation? And by the way, I really want you to understand, when you get your head around that, the seller to contribute towards the buyer's commitment to compensation. It's not the seller needs to pay my compensation. They need to cover my buyer's commitment to compensation.
I had a 45 conversation with an agent this weekend.
Yep.
In reference to that, because they couldn't quite grasp what it means and what form needs to be submitted, why these forms are being submitted. And I had to explain to him or her that up to 59 is your expectation, which you're gonna get paid. And the question posed to me was that, well, can they just cancel during due diligence if we can't get a resolution? And I'm like, shouldn't you have that up front versus in the back end? Why would you even go in contract on something and waste your time and everybody's time? You
So-
know,
And that brings up the next point, which is, when do we ask for the seller to contribute towards our buyer's commitment to compensation? With the offer. When we submit the offer. So either we're gonna use special SIP 620 or we're gonna use F259.
yeah, 258 to me is useless.
Yeah.
Just-
Go ahead.
Oh, that pre-shown?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
because I don't know what Allstate's gonna give me. Why would
What's
I
that?
guarantee you 3% on something?
It's
I don't
special
even know
SIP
what the
620.
offer is?
So you have two options. One is you're gonna include it as a special stip in the contract, and it's SS 620. You can look it up in the special stipulations in the GAR contracts. The other is you're using F259. My only caution is if you use F259, make sure that the seller signs both. Because we have had instances, not us, but in the industry, where a seller signed the purchase and sale, but didn't
Everything
sign.
else but the two.
They didn't sign F259.
And
So
that
be
is a
careful on that. And an
counter
excited agent goes and finds the contract and agreed to no compensation.
That's
So,
right.
That's one of the reasons why we like using special SIP 620. It's all in there. They're signing it all at one time, but you can use either one. Yes, ma'am, you had a question?
I was asking, is that conversation scripted?
Is that conversation? Yes, it is. It's in the script as well. And if you need help, we'll sit down with you too. So
And just like, do you use ChatGPT?
I love it.
Recently.
Okay, have a conversation with ChatGPT, seriously. It's really insightful.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll come up with some ideas for you as well. Just say, build on it, tell me more, what are some of the rebuttals? And it will give you a script.
now, how about, we've been talking all about the buyers. Let's talk about the sellers now for a little bit. So the sellers have to pay compensation.
Not
No.
to the buyer's agent. no.
Not to us.
No, okay, yeah,
Not to
but
buyers.
do the sellers have to pay buyer's agent compensation?
No.
Did they have to pay it before or just since the NAR lawsuit?
Well,
No,
No, like I know this is hard to believe, but George is cutting edge, y'all. I know, right? Like, our sellers have not had to pay buyer's agent compensation forever, right? Now, it's very customary. It was very much expected. I'm not trying to imply that that wasn't expected. But it's still like the compensation now, that is a benefit for the buyer. So when we say, do the sellers have to pay the buyer's agent compensation for the buyer? No, they don't have to. So what happens if they do?
That gives them more interest in their home.
Will more buyers be able to afford the home?
Yeah.
Because what happens if they don't?
That's the crowd.
Well, but why? Because see,
Because they can't afford it.
huh?
Most can't afford it.
Well, but see,
They're struggling to
but
make
see,
it
you're
work.
hitting on exactly what I'm talking about, because for years, we in the industry were accused of pointing sellers or buyers only towards the homes that had high,
Steering.
yeah, that we were steering people towards listings that had high compensation, right? We steer anybody to any place now, because what's our compensation based on?
The buyer.
On the buyer, right? And so if that seller is not offering compensation, it's an affordability issue for the buyer. So we're seeing where sellers are saying, you know what? I'm only paying 2%. Well, then what does that mean for the buyer that has a 3% on their buyer brokerage agreement?
They're gonna come up with 1%.
They have to come up 1%, and that's real money. Are they prepared to come out of their pocket up front?
Usually not.
Well, but again, are the buyers on the hook for are our buyers obligated for our compensation?
Yes.
So you as a listing agent, you can be real hard, say, you know what? I mean, I'm hearing sellers right now. Let the buyer pay their own. Yeah, I'm hearing listing agents like, look, we're offering 2%. That's just what it is. We're offering 2.5. That's how it's gonna be. But guess what we're seeing buyers do?
Moves to something else.
Bye, Felicia. You know, I mean, we recently had one. I've talked about this before, but we represented a buyer on a transaction, and the buyer, we had a buyer brokerage agreement for 3%. They made a lowball offer, and the seller agreed to it, but didn't want to pay any compensation. Well, they countered and said, no, we need compensation. So then they countered back and said, okay, we'll pay 2%. And the buyer still walked. The buyer said, you know what? I love our, our agent actually said, look, I'll cut my compensation. It's okay. And she said, no, I know we've been friends for forever. This is how you pay your bills. If they're not going to cover our compensation, I don't want to come out of pocket. We'll just find another home. So comes back to it. So buyer walks away. All of a sudden, seller comes back like, whoa, fine. And then I get a call from the listing agent. Listing agent is giving me a hard time. Who says, your agent's being unethical. They're adjusting my compensation.
That's
Well-
the dance. That's part of the dance.
Well, but it's a part of the dance. Well, but really, am I changing the buyer's agent compensation, the listing? Because here's what's happening. We're having listing agents that as part of the dance are going in and saying, you know what? I'll do this for 4%, 2% to me, 2% to the buyer's agent. Do they get to decide how much the buyer's agent gets compensated? Right? So in this instance, he was all bent out of shape because our agent was getting 3, he was getting 1. It's a listing agent. He wanted to claim that we were being unethical. No, the only other part is to think that as a listing agent, that you can dictate what a buyer's agent gets paid. There is a big difference here going on right now, and there is a shift happening. And so sellers, right now, the market is helping us to a certain degree, right? Because are we in a much more balanced market right now?
Yes.
If it was like it was 2001 or 2021, we had 15 buyers lined up for every single house, sellers could be a lot more aggressive. What's happening in the marketplace right now? Yeah,
Back then,
exactly.
the buyer actually will pay you the compensation. What they'll do is increase the sale price.
So how do we make sure that we don't lose a ready, willing, and able buyer? Right? So like yeah, you can negotiate really, really hard, but the days of being able to dictate what a buyer's agent makes or what a buyer's agent compensation is, it's really hard because that buyer already has a commitment with their buyer agent. I know lots of sellers who are like, you know what? That buyer agent didn't do nothing for me. Well, it's the same thing when they bought their home. They probably didn't have to come out of pocket for it either. And our buyers don't want to come out of pocket for it. It's a big affordability issue, and especially with affordability being so important in our marketplace, that is a driving factor for us. So we can try and be real hard. We can try and be like, I'm only giving you 2%. I'm only paying 2.5%. But guess what we're seeing happen? What are we seeing happen? Deals are dying, right? In the US, 1 out of 7 properties that go under contract
Yes, cancel.
die. In Georgia, it's 1 out of 5, 20%.
Well, for the seller that still think like back in pandemic, I can just put my house on the market without any repairs and should sell. That is no longer the case. The buyer is unwilling to go in there. I even roll up myself a very horrible contract because the buyer insists on that they want this house. They didn't care. And I knew based on inspection, there's a roof issue that they would have to pay down the road. And the buyer didn't care. It's to me, that's a horrible contract, okay? And so I did as directed. They had the inspection report. And you know, buyer were willing to take that risk to get into a home and have that low monthly payment at that time because the interest rate was incredible, okay? And so now they're not willing to put down $10,000, $12,000 down between down payment, closing costs, and come off another $15,000 per roof. They're just not willing to do it. They don't have a budget for it. And if y'all think about it, one thing I know I heard from this, but during pandemic, all you qualified buyers already bought a home. So we're left with folks that may be a little bit challenged or does not make as much income or is in need of moving. So we're left with a little more challenged client, not always every single case, okay? But if you look at the amount of transaction that went on in 2020 to 2023 early on, it was massive.
Are the buyers being really selective right now?
Oh, yeah.
100%. It's about affordability in a lot of cases. It's about a sense of fairness for them. But we are having 1 out of 5 in Georgia that is falling apart, right? So understand now the vast majority of those are coming from home inspection. So as a listing agent, what do we have to be ready to ease over with our sellers?
So you know what can happen.
That's it, right? Are we ready to go back on the market and start all over again? Or are we gonna work through this, right? Right? So
And sometimes the buyers.
I'm just trying to prepare you for what we see going on out there.
If the buyer's only asking for like 5,000 or 8,000 more than repair, what I do a lot of time, I look at the seller and say, do you want to go back to the market for another 30, minimum 60 days? Because by the time you get a contract, well, it's gonna be another 60 days.
Yep.
You're gonna be making 2 months worth of payment. Are you willing to let this house back in the market for a $5,000 repair request that are legitimate concerns?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you put it in that perspective, they tend to listen a little bit better versus like, it's $5,000 I'm not getting. No, you will lose that, if not more. You probably gonna lose, this house is gonna be back on the market for another 6 months easily, or 3 months minimum, and that's minimum right now, $6,000. So when you look at numbers in that aspect and kind of educate them how to look at those numbers, I think the conversation may be a little different.
We want you to be very proactive about this, staying on top of everything. Like it's a heck of a thing right now. You go through, you market the home, you finally get it under contract, and then we lose deals.
Yep.
1 out of 5 is dying. Like we want to make sure that we just don't like turn a blind eye at this point, because we still have to get them all the way to closing, right? That's how we make everybody
And
whole.
y'all, one thing I'd rather inject, don't make your emotional part the decision, because really at the end of the day, emotion comes and go, right?
Well, also don't make the decisions for your clients. I've seen so
Correct.
many realtors that would go like, well, this is crappy. So it's like, yeah, right? Yeah. So like this is not your decision, right? So sometimes, and I know that, a lot of our clients look to us for guidance and advice, but make sure that it's about what matches up to their goals, their needs, their wants, that kind of stuff.
Their timeline.
One of the places I really want to have, I want to take a minute, and I know this is going back to basics on a lot of things, but I want to talk about how do you set the right price with a seller. And so what I want to do is walk you through how Ming and I would get a seller to be able to list at the right price for us. So first thing that we would always, so when we sit down with a seller, before we get into price, before you get into anything, I start off with time frame. So tell me, when did you want to move? By the way, anytime that you do this, you'll find out that you should have had the house listed last week or a month ago, right? Because like, okay, well, we'd like to move in January, for example. All right. Well, right now, marketing time is 72 days on the market. So you take a calendar, you go back to January. Oh crap! Right? I mean, like right now, we should already almost be on the market right now because we have, we also have to account for what? I'm just going to ask you. Well, we have holidays, but what about due diligence, inspections, appraisal timeframes, all these kind of things. So we have 72 days on marketing. That's 72 days to go under contract. How long to actually close? 30, 45 days. So now we're at 110, 120 days. When do we need to be on the market if we wanted to close in January? 2 weeks ago, right? So like we're already behind the scenes. So I always start off talking about time frame. Next thing I do is I pull out my comparable market analysis, and I make sure at least I try to always have active under contracts and solds. And I pull out the comparative market analysis, and I immediately go to all the comparables. So I always start with what's on the market, because this right here, this is your competition. This is who you're competing with, because we buy and sell real estate based on comparison. They can buy, these are the other homes in your neighborhood that are for sale. And so this is our competition, right? So I'll throw that out there, and we'll look at those competition. We go through them one by one. Oh, look, they got granite countertops. Oh, they have this. Like you want to be able to showcase all that. Next thing I do is we want to go, all right, these are the properties that are under contract. These are the homes that a buyer that was at a price that a buyer was willing to move forward on. You'll notice that there's normally a difference in price between the under contracts and between the active listings, right? Sometimes 5 to 10%. All right, then these are the homes that have sold. This is the price where someone was really willing to buy this home for, and then we'll go through all those properties in there. Now, once I go through all the different comparables with the seller, I go back on all your comparative market analysis. There's a summary page, and I'll turn it to the summary page. And I would say, would you not agree that your home is not going to be priced somewhere in here? And when I do that, I nod. Why do I nod?
To reinforce.
Well, what happens when I nod? Look what some of you guys are doing to me right now, right? When I nod, you nod, right? It's like your home is going to be priced somewhere on this page, right? And they go, well, yeah, all right. Now is when I jump into market conditions. So right now we have 72 days on market. We're sitting on around 4.8, almost 5 months of standing inventory. In this price point, it really is much more of a buyer's market or a seller's market, or what's going on. We're just going to talk general market, right? What's, we need to be expecting that the offers are going to come in asking for compensation. It's probably going to be in this range. We need to understand that they may be asking for closing costs. Like, you want to go through and talk about all these things right now. And then what you really want to do is say, okay, you said your home's going to be priced in somewhere on this page, and we just talked about what's the market going on right now. Where do you think we should price your home? Because it makes it so hard for them to be able to say, well, I wanted 350, right? Right? Well, but like at this point, we said like your home is going to be priced somewhere in here. So we go price out here. So like you need to have two prices when you go into a listing presentation. One price is the price that you feel it needs to be listed at, that you can work with. And then there's that price where you walk away. And I promise you, you're better off to walk away. I know that, especially if you haven't had a lot of listings, you want listings, you want your name and lights. I want to be in the MLS, that kind of stuff. But like if you'll say, look, I just need your permission to be honest, because if I can't help you be successful, I'm not going to take your listing. That is a completely different conversation than whatever you say, right? Here's where like I've shown you the comparables. We've discussed the market. Where would we need to be in order for you to move by January 1? And that's how we do it. It's not about manipulation. It's not about doing anything like that. But like what we're seeing, another issue, see, like what I'm trying to do is address a couple of things that we have going on. One is we have a lot of contracts falling out. The other is we're kind of going back to the old days when the early bird gets the worm, but the second realtor sells the house. So like if you go in and you overprice that house, what do they do after your listing expires? They fire you. And then what happens? Then they relist it. And what price do they relist the home? Not just lower. Normally, what price did you recommend that they said no to? And now they relist it at your price, right?
You know
But you didn't
why?
stick to it.
You know why? Because they don't want to admit that they were wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, that's for one. And the other, obviously, the relationship somewhat sour because of that they didn't listen. Okay, but it's easier to find a new face thinking you're the bomb versus that you're wrong. So I get that all day. So I just had a listing appointment about a month ago. It was actually a referral from a neighbor that I sold a house to, okay? And, you know, the neighbor said great thing about me, and that's why I got a referral. I went over there, and the highest price home that was sold there was in mid-600s. The lady had expectation of over 700, okay? Granted, she's got a nice pool. But the problem, pool is right now is not really a huge bonus like it was during the pandemic. And the condition of her home was a little off. Not only that, when we went outside, her chimney was doing this. So those are major issues I addressed with her. And I told her, I said, listen, I can list it for $700,000 if you like. I can tell you right now.
Nobody's buying.
We're not, even if I get a buyer to come in and buy it, you're gonna have a problem with appraisal.
Then
So,
we'll go get financed.
you know, we can do this if you like, but I don't think you're quite ready for what you need. And, you know, and I understand her desire to have those financial earnings so they can buy another house, cash.
But we hear all sorts of things about why they set price a certain way,
Yes.
right? My favorite is we had a client who, like, I need this price because I need hair plugs. Hair plugs.
Okay.
They were receding up here.
Yeah.
Oh,
So there
I'm
was
like,
some hair
that's
plugs.
not a basis for setting value, right? When I show you, that's the basis for setting value. We buy and sell real estate based on comparison, not because you need a new deal. So but we've heard all sorts of things like that.
But what I'm saying is that this is where you have to make a decision to be honest with them. And most likely she will not choose me, which I'm fine with, because that's a lot of marketing. And when she figure out she lists somebody else for 7+ and can get a buy, hopefully she'll come back to me. That's the whole principle, second, you know.
Well, when you take that overpriced, and if you do, everyone takes an overpriced listing at least once in their life,
Yeah,
right?
I do that.
Right? I mean, and it becomes the bane of your existence. Because as soon as you
Yes.
take the overpriced listing, they're like, why haven't you sold my house?
No,
Why aren't you doing an
probably
open
spend
house?
a good
Why haven't you done
$300-400
this? Why aren't you marketing
dollars.
here? Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't you boosting the post? Why aren't you doing that? And it's like, well, what's more exciting than spending money on a listing I know won't sell, right? So please trust us about this. It really does.
And like I
Very
said,
cool.
do
Yeah.
keep in touch with the clients still, because sometimes we have life changes that might impact us to where we're like, oh, we gotta do this now.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right, I want to change gears. Has everybody logged into their
Woo-hoo,
Agent Wise
Agent
account now?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All right, yes, I hope so. If not,
I'm gonna shame you out.
All right. you need to look. This is a really snazzy little platform here.
I mean, look at the flyers.
It's got, there's like 4,000 templates that you can utilize. We have a group of agents right now at the airport office.
They're doing 30 days.
And they're doing a 30-day challenge. And they're posting once a day, every day. Letty, are you part of that group?
Yes.
Which social media they're posting on?
Some are doing Facebook, some are doing Instagram, some are doing both.
Okay.
And TikTok. too.
And TikTok, yeah. Yeah, maybe smart as dad. We are seeing where folks are taking engagement up. I mean, what are the numbers that you're seeing, Letty?
I mean, it's amazing. Well, I'm starting to do Instagram and I would have 0, 1. So what I like about the group is, they real supportive, but I had one where had 300 eyeballs. I just said, what is that? That's how many people looked at your posts and everything. And so I've gotten like appointments too.
we have engagement that's up
Yeah.
1,000% across the group.
Yeah.
Well, we have more appointments, we have more interactions going on. Now, the 30-day challenge is really about going out and just posting once a day, whether you're doing it on one platform or multiple platforms. But we have folks that are really starting to build business out of this. Now, when you pair posting and engaging socially, along with a platform like AgentWise, right? Where it has, like, it's got a feminine, a masculine collection, it's got all this, you know, like you go into Instagram posts, there's like 20 different tabs of Instagram posts. Each one has 20 different items, designs in there. So one thing I encourage you to do is don't overthink it. Like, these guys are designers. Guess what their job is? Designing. So you go stick your head in there, you put your name in there, and you post. Don't go.
Ta-da.
We already have folks that want to take it and be like, well, I want to move this here and I want to move that there. No, you don't. Just post. Like, it's so much more important that you get something out on social media than you go and spend an hour. We bought this for you so that you could be fast and quick and be able to be nimble. There is so much content in here if you choose to take advantage of it. If you aren't, you are missing out, right? Like everyone should have got an email with their login, their logins, their passwords.
Can you go over that again, Alex? Because it's something.
We're not gonna do that in the sales meeting, but we can
Well,
do
No,
that.
no, just the email, it came from you or mine came from Agent.
It comes from Agent
Wise.
Wise.
And it was a.
Yeah.
was it-
It's not spam.
If I remember.
So, but we all have the same password to begin with. So
Yes.
like, you just gotta put in your email address that's in here and then
The password, 1, 2, 3, 4.
I can't remember the password.
Capital
Yes.
capital P,
Oh,
password.
Password 1, 2, 3 with an exclamation point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Password is password with a capital P.
Yes.
Exclamation mark.
So,
One, two, three.
Please,
So-
please
Yeah.
take
Please
advantage
take
of
advantage
this.
of this because I think you'll find out that how useful it is and how much content you can post. You can do this in 15 minutes every
Oh.
morning
Less than 15 minutes, yeah.
and you can post. And it makes you look like you're busy all the time.
So please take advantage of this. Well, you know, like we invested in this for you because it's here to help your business. So if you want to, you know, like we have a lot of folks that are like, I want to do more socially. I want to do more socially. Well, here's the platform. Here's what you do. Go do it, right? There's no reason in here that would hold you back. So now, 2 things about masterminds. Every Monday morning at 9:30, we do a mastermind every single week. Now, we are having the Canva people, the AgentWise folks, they are coming at some of these. So like this Monday coming up, AgentWise is going to be going over how to do a newsletter every single month for your entire database. By the way, they make the newsletter for you. Ta-da. And so they're going to teach that, how to use that. So like, if you'll go to max1.rocks/mastermind, it's every Monday morning at 9:30. Now, it's not always Canva every single Monday. So we have FMLS is coming, they're gonna be going over Real Reports, which is a new thing that's on there. Chantal Wetterham is doing the $1 million marketing plan. Then we have AgentWise again, doing more Canva training. Then we have Neil, he's gonna be going over tax strategies
That's a
to
good
save
one,
you
Neil.
money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Then Georgia MLS is coming out. They're gonna be going over all the new tools at Georgia MLS. And then I'm gonna be on December 1, I'm gonna be going over your 2026 business plan with you to try and get your business plan set up. So every week there's something else to help you grow your business. We've been trying to get ahead on masterminds. We used to just kind of wing it as we were going along, and now we're actually planning ahead and that kind of stuff. So please take advantage of that. Also, take advantage of these Canva trainings. Agent-wise, the people that make these designs are coming and doing the trainings for us. Most of these last 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the topic. The Canva people normally teach for an hour. Most of the time, we're there for 30, 45 minutes kind of thing. So please take advantage of
If
that.
nothing else, if somebody's topic doesn't interest you, just listen to it, because you might pick up a little nugget here and there. Or if you're already practicing it, okay, whatever the topic is, you might still pick up a nugget here or there. If you want to just leave it as a background as a broadcast.
We started Mondays at 9:30 because you need to get your week going. When you treat your business like a business, you start getting yourself a schedule. I know a lot of us got into real estate because we didn't want no stinking schedule, but I promise, when you get up and get rolling, it will help you build your business. So,
And it's taped, correct? It's, yeah, you can go back.
yeah, you can find them at realestatebackstory.com. You can find those in there as well. Right? Now, we have also put in a new property management company. So we have Renting Georgia that's coming. Shoni is running Renting Georgia. But there's a couple of things I want to go over with you. One is if you turn this property over to Renting Georgia to do property management, if the seller wants to sell, guess who we send them back to? You, right. We are not taking your listings. This company is not doing listings. They will come, so if the seller wants to sell. So I don't want you to feel like, oh, if I give it to a property manager, I'll never get this client back. The other thing is if you want to lease the property and just have them take over. So if you want to be able to go ahead and just do the initial leasing, get your compensation on the lease side, and then move over property management, you can do it that way too.
Oh, that's fine.
So but you know, we've had a lot of people asking over the years for property management. Now we have something that's going to be in-house.
Well, the reason why we hesitate for so long is because with renting, there's a lot of legal liability, and we have to find a good fit for it. Shoni's been in property management for a long time, and she's already got the connection and everything else, so we're starting partnering with her and getting this.
Just so you know, the landlords all have their own login portal. They can see everything comes in, everything goes out.
Rent's collected,
Yep.
tenant has their own portal, and they'll see what bills due and stuff like that. So everything is very much online accounted for. So there's no issue as far as that goes.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, the landlord, we'll go over with the landlord, what they expect, what is the service, consist of, what repairs that we're looking at, what recommendation we do. The landlord has a choice whether or not to take those recommendations. If not, it may cost more in the long run. So all these legal leads in the back end will be handled through rentinggeorgia.com. And so, y'all please, and we probably will change Shoni's email to a different email address that reflects Renting Georgia. But anyways, we're kicking off November 1st. We're already set up all the back end, and there's a couple, when you do property management, you have to be vetted from them. So we're in the vetting process with them right now.
Oh, we're gonna change the address too.
Yeah, we
We'll
are.
all be, yep,
We will. So
that's it.
anyway,
100%.
She'll be in this office.
Wow, well, that's
she's
very
actually
busy.
located in Fayette.
Wait, no.
That's my from last
I don't know
month.
why that is.
It's okay.
That's from last month. There we go.
All right, before we go here, I do want to interrupt you for 5 seconds.
Go for it. You interrupt me all the time. We're married.
We are starting a relocation department as well. A lot of y'all ask us, if you know agent up in Maryland, you know agent in LA, you know agent here. So we are starting relocation, and Martin is the point of contact for that, and we'll get the paperwork straight for you guys. We vet all the agents that we refer out to and to take care of it and do follow up for you guys, just so we know. But we do encourage you guys to follow up with your client as well. We will send you a text reminder, say, hey, follow up with your referral, what have you. So that all is going to be built in our back end, so you kind of keep you informed, and at the same time, for you to remind you to kind of keep contact, so you know that we're not playing around and what have you. So, but
So This is meant for all 50 states?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's our relocation partner, so we're hoping to get that set up. We just started the first one that we have, so you know, like anything, when you first start, there's gonna be growing pain, right? So if you don't have any suggestion, we would love to hear. Okay,
Eventually, we wanna work it to where we can actually start giving out relocation referrals. So,
yes, and that goes for incoming as well, so, you know, we will assign.
So you're looking for other agents and realtors in different, states?
We are vetting them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's also, when you're in relocation, there's also a network of them. So you have to get accredited, certified, and all that good stuff. So we're working on that as well. But right now, what we're doing, we're vetting all the agents and having an interview with them. Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of work. So that is our relocation department.
And here's our top people.
Yay!
So, thank you guys very, very much. I hope this was valuable and you found some good information. We're not done. I'm just done with my part. So like, we have
We have
more.
lunch.
And so, I'm gonna let Nancy and Melissa, they're going to.
They're
jump in now.
taking over now.